is a big idea, a new world order.
Your world is not what it seems. Alex answering. Outside the box.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It is May 8th, 2011, and this is Outside the Box Live, coming to you for the next hour. And of course, on tonight's show, we encourage audience participation. 503-288-4442 or 503-288-4448. We want your take on the fake bin Laden photos. Before we get into that story tonight, of course, we're going to be covering that. Alex is with us tonight. Bill has the night off. I want to start tonight by going over some of the stories that we covered last week. You know, last week as I was setting up some of the headlines that we were going to talk about, I just couldn't help but pause and just kind of muse over how much intense news is coming out at this particular point in time, not just about the economy, but about many, many other things. As soon as I get off the air, last Sunday night, I get the announcement. Obama's about to make an announcement. Ladies and gentlemen, Obama's going to make an announcement. What will it be? Will it be war with China? Will it be some sort of a declaration that those on unemployment must report to FEMA camps and Red Cross centers to help out in the event of a disaster? What would be the announcement? What was it? Bin Laden has finally been murdered. We can now celebrate because after all, folks, the end of the war on terror has now arrived, hasn't it? Wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Everything is perfect. Everything is fine. Sunshine and flowers. But we're going to go deeper into this alleged murder of bin Laden story, deeper than the mainstream media and many other alternative outlets. And even Cindy Sheehan doesn't buy the official story. But we'll get into that later. But some of the things that we covered last night are the following. Alex, go ahead and start them off. We mentioned that there are 6 planets that are now aligned to the dawn sky. Very interesting headline to see this appear. In the next graphic, we have a illustration of what this looks like. And they say this alignment of the 6 planets is taking place over a course of several weeks. Now, it's widely believed that those in power choose to do certain things during particular alignments to bring them good luck. So what have we seen over the course of the last several weeks? Massive distractions. It's the royal bloodline wedding. Yes. Going around town hearing waitresses just, oh, look at how Prince William looks. Oh, I just wish I could be with the royal family. Oh, I love the alpha male-dominated system. Looking up at the top of the pyramid. Oh, and then we have the Pope and his beautiful red cross looking all hot walking down the strip on Easter Sunday. Then we have the next one. Okay, we have other things that were also going on at the same time. A top Chinese banker is proposing that the Bank of China cut 2/3 of its $3 trillion in US dollar holdings, bringing it back down to about $1.3 trillion. From its current levels. And the next headline as we roll forward, can the United States feed China? Questions are being asked, folks, as to the future of China with their massive drought problem and the collapse of the US dollar. Significant things you think one might want to create a distraction to take the focus away from such headlines. Here we have this one, Capitol Hill. Decapitation? Succession talks behind closed doors on Capitol Hill. There's also other talks taking place behind closed doors between the Chinese and U.S. representatives, including Merkley. Now we have the IMF saying the U.S. president, the next one, may be the last due to our debt with China. And the next one, here we go. Portland, Oregon has rejoined the JTTF. We'll talk more about that later on. So big moves, big things shaken up in the world of news. Do we have any more that we want to go over? Weather chief draws flack over plea to not release radiation forecasts. Massive suppression of what is really going on, the Fukushima plant, and talks of meltdown. And here we have this one. Superman announces plan to renounce U.S. citizenship. And of course, we've heard talks about a president of the world. And so much of this is now coming to fruition. The globalists using America to destroy America. And we're seeing a lot of other very careless moves being done by the U.S. military, foreign policy, domestic policy, economic policy. Is it an accident? Or are you willing to truly look at the reality that this all could be by design? So here we have a shot in the arm of dopamine given to the collective consciousness of the American people, staged death of Osama bin Laden. I just want to pause here and point out the fact that many people have had a little bit of a slip of the tongue over the course of the last week, noting that Obama saying accidentally, Obama's been shot, when in reality, it's Osama. Now, I don't know how to open up this whole can of worms as to how our president's name sounds like Osama, but it's a very strange meme that's been injected into the collective language, the zeitgeist of the American people. What we know is that Osama bin Laden's video, or Osama bin Laden's body, Alex, has been dumped in the sea, allegedly to respect Muslim law. We're also seeing other strange anomalies. It's being reported in the mainstream media that these photos are fake. Now, there's much speculation as to when Osama bin Laden has died, if he has already died. The very popular year that comes to mind is 2001. And most of you already know about the allegations that Osama bin Laden was allowed to get out of that particular stronghold in Tora Bora. Here we have the picture just for those that have short-term memories. We understand that chemtrails sometimes cause problems with the cognitive functions of the human brain. But here's your change. We see Osama bin Laden being aided by Zbigniew Brzezinski, Barack Obama's foreign policy advisor, at the time when the United States deemed Osama bin Laden to be an ally of the United States, and in particular, Tim Osman, his CIA handle name, an asset of the Central Intelligence Agency. More information about the Central Intelligence Agency is that the ISI, Pakistan's intelligence agency, is actually a Frankenstein creation of the CIA. It was also Muhammad Atta that received over $250,000 from the ISI in 2001, another link that was not investigated by the CIA. Alex, bring up the other picture about dialysis. Osama bin Laden on dialysis. It came out in July of 2001, Le Figaro, the French newspaper, never retracted the story that Osama bin Laden met with an agent of the Central Intelligence Agency while Osama bin Laden was on dialysis. Now, all this needs to be kept in perspective. Now, you age, I age naturally in terms of our human biological spacesuit, but Osama bin Laden has these magical powers, perhaps Allah gave them to him, magical powers to where instead of getting older, Osama bin Laden seems to get younger. Now, the picture on the right is the current picture being released of Osama bin Laden, our Goldstein, our own 1984 Emmanuel Goldstein. On the left, you see the classic, a boogie, 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 a brown man gotta get you, a boogie, 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 a brown man gotta get you. And so here we see the comparison. Do you think these two individuals are the same? Now here are the noses. You surely cannot be blind. You surely can see reality as it is. And so we have a comparison here, before the nose job and then after the nose job. What else do we have, Alex? We have a couple other things that have also been released, but there are far too many videos, there are far too many pictures, there are far too many things that have been faked to go over. But here is how Rome falls, you see. Pause it here. As America goes through the meltdown, as they feel this economic pinch, powers that be sees that the people of the world need a celebration. Now, this is West Virginia. There are also some pictures outside of Washington, D.C., rumors of police and people drinking beers together on the steps of the White House. A manufactured celebration event in the same way that 9/11 was a manufactured staged event to create fear. So we see simulated, like a simulated video game, in the sense that we almost have like a sim of a president that speaks very well from the teleprompter, even though nothing changes, but more people are dying. We see simulated fear generated by the 9/11 false flag attack on September 11, 2001, and then of course we see the simulated celebration. It's very easy to push buttons of biological human Homo sapiens that live in the 5 sense reality. Now, I don't know how many more pictures we have from this mob fest, a very hungry one at that, but these are some of the things that we are seeing at this point in time. Let's go over some more facts and information pertaining to the story, and then we'll get into some other very relative pieces of information. The DoD recently released what they say are new videotapes of Osama bin Laden, or as some people choose to call Osama bin Bush Laden, that they claim were obtained from the alleged raid of bin Laden's Pakistan hideout. These new bin Laden videotapes are being sold by the corporate-controlled media as evidence proving the official conspiracy theory surrounding bin Laden's death. One of the video clips shows what the DoD claims is bin Laden with a gray beard watching news of himself on TV. The video footage is shot at such an angle so that it is impossible to see the full facial features of the man in the clip. There is simply no way to identify that the man in this footage is in fact Osama bin Laden. 3 of the 4 other video tapes show bin Laden wearing the exact same clothes as he wore in a 2007 bin Laden video, released only with different backgrounds inserted. And these are some other things that have been released over the past, showing a plumper, healthier, well-fed, very healthy Osama bin Laden. Cindy Sheehan is being attacked by leftists and liberals in the alternative media for denying the official conspiracy theory that they've caught bin Laden, even though there was no evidence whatsoever to show that this, in fact, actually took place. According to Cindy Sheehan, and I quote, "If you believe the newest death of Osama bin Laden, you're stupid." Cindy Sheehan, who became a national symbol of the anti-war movement when her son Casey was killed in Iraq, has taken to what looks like her official Facebook page to cast doubt on President Barack Obama's claim that the U.S. killed Osama bin Laden yesterday. Sheehan grabbed headlines back in 2005 when she camped outside of George W. Bush's ranch in Texas to protest the wars, and later ran unsuccessfully for Congress. Since, she's protested Obama too, and has worked recently with not only the socialist alternative. Today she appears to have really lost it. She's not the only one. And this comes from the Village Voice. The Village Voice, what publication is that? An anti-war publication that when Bush was the president was highly critical of torture. You know, that whole thing that we've kind of gotten used to because we have a different president with a darker shade of skin tone. You know, that type of thing. So who is the Village Voice? Again, another organization very similar to MoveOn.org that's very fast at becoming two-faced, shifting their perspective, shifting, again, their opinionated columns on who the enemy is in this new American nightmare. Some object to the fact that they have linked Geronimo to Osama bin Laden. It takes us back to talking about Skull and Bones. In light of reports that link the name Geronimo with the operation that took down Osama bin Laden, Native Americans expressed disappointment, rightfully so, last Thursday, and pointed to the sacrifices they have made in the service. The president of the National Congress of American Indians says, and I quote, "To associate a native warrior with bin Laden is not an accurate reflection of history, and it undermines the military service of native people. It is critical that military leaders and operational standards honor the service of those who protect our freedom." Now let's go back to February 2009 and look at this report. So just several years ago, but I've been familiar with this story for some time. It's been alleged that the skull of Geronimo, that was, again, resisting domestic U.S. military imperialism. Remember, the first purpose of the U.S. military was to remove the Native Americans from their land. Okay, so it's been alleged for years that the skull of Geronimo has been on Yale property at the secret society of the Skull and Bones fraternity, which of course John Kerry, the 2004 Democratic presidential runner-up, I'm sure you're surprised, was also a member, as well as Skull and Bones, both asked by Tim Russert, now deceased, about Skull and Bones, both responding, "It's a secret, but we really can't tell you jack about it." Well, for years, descendants, and this report from February 2009, let's go back to that, Alex, talks about 20 descendants of Geronimo, the 19th century Apache chief, suing Yale and its infamous secret society, Skull and Bones, to demand the return of their ancestor's skull. The Yale Daily News reports, because Geronimo's remains were initially buried on a U.S. military base. Several government officials were initially, including President Barack Obama, Secretary of State Robert Gates, were all named in the suit against the government, filed in U.S. District Court for the District of Columbia. The lawsuit alleges that members